everybody, welcome to Storytime Shorts. I'm Miss G here at the South Branch Library in Breckenridge, and today we are going to be celebrating someone very special that I used to watch when I was a kid. We're going to be reading a book about Mr. Rogers and his world of make-believe and everything he did for children's education, and I'm guessing that your parents maybe watched him. I did. My parents watched him with me. He's great, but first, before we get into that, we are going to stand up and clap and say hello. So everybody, please stand up with me. Good? All right. We clap and say hello. We clap and say hello. With our friends at story time, we clap and say hello. We wave and say hello. We wave and say hello. With our friends at story time, we wave and say hello. We stomp and say hello. We stomp and say hello. With our friends at story time, we stomp and say hello. Great job, everybody. Take a big seat, and let's get started. This book is called Hello Neighbor, and it's going to teach us all about the kind and caring world of Mr. Rogers. Here we go. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. As you can see, this is no ordinary neighborhood. It's the set of a television show, a children's television program that's connected with countless families since it was first broadcast nationally in 1968. There were many things that made it different from your neighborhood. There were actors, camera operators, musicians, stage sets, and puppets, and it took a great deal of work and love to bring the neighborhood to life each day. And it was all started by a man named Fred Mcfeely Rogers. Growing up near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Fred had many interests. He especially loved playing with puppets and music. He learned to play the piano at the age of 5. Fred's family was proud of his talent and encouraged him to study music and composition as he got older. Fred was shy and often lonely. He was sometimes bullied, but whimsy and imagination were helpful to him, and so was his fate. After college, he planned to become a minister, and years later, he did become a special kind of minister. But at this moment in his life, something unexpected happened. In those days, television was new and just beginning to become popular, and Fred didn't like what he saw. I saw people throwing pies in each other's faces and all kinds of terrible behavior, and I thought, why is it being used this way? This could be a wonderful tool for education. And so I said to my parents, I think maybe I'll go into television. So he went to work for the National Broadcasting Company, or NBC, in New York City to learn how television programs are made. At first, Fred simply ran errands and fetched things that were needed around the studio, and he learned a great deal. Best of all, he learned that connecting with younger viewers through children's television was what he loved the most. Fred moved back to Pittsburgh and began working on his TV show for kids. He continued to stay behind the scenes, but he took on a more creative role. Drawing his background in music, he wrote songs and created characters, returning to his childhood love of puppetry. As an adult, Fred remembered the wonder of childhood as well as the fears. He spent a lot of time studying and learning children and about their needs and feelings. And in time, it became obvious to him that too much of children's television was no more than silly and flashy entertainment. Fred had a new mission, to create a very different kind of kids program that spoke to its audience with respect and understanding. A program where Fred would perform as never before in front of the camera and speak directly to his audience, and he would simply be his honest, curious, playful, attentive, and compassionate self. On February 19, 1968, Fred became a permanent resident of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood when it premiered nationally on public television. And now, welcome to the neighborhood. Fred began every episode by singing his welcoming song and changing into his comfortable cardigan sweater and sneakers. Then a new idea, person, or place would be introduced. Just like in life, there were good times in the neighborhood, like visiting a circus or neighborhood school. But there were difficult times too, like saying goodbye to a beloved pet. Fred understood that children have many feelings and interests, and all of them are worth mentioning and exploring. Mr. Rogers had many regular visitors, like Mr. Mcfeely, a friend who brought deliveries and discoveries, and Joe Negri, who owned a nearby music store. Welcoming and accepting others and their differences was of great importance in the neighborhood. Fred made sure to have a diverse range of actors performing in important roles. Police Officer Clemens was the first African-American character to appear in a recurring role in a kids' series on TV. Fred realized that children were naturally curious about the world around him. So, as Mr. Rogers, he often took us out of his home to meet new people and discover new places. We found out how people make things and how workers do their jobs. We even met world-famous artists in the neighborhood, like Eric Carle, Yo-Yo Ma, and Margaret Hamilton. Each day in the neighborhood, we spent time pretending when the trolley took us from Fred's television house to the neighborhood of make-believe. Here's our trolley up there. And here's the world of make-believe. And here in the world of make-believe, an ensemble cast of puppets and people acted out a story about the subject introduced in the beginning of each episode. When Mr. Rogers visited the neighborhood or a school, he then went into the neighborhood of make-believe, and we saw how people made his real neighborhood. That was weird. I think I missed a sentence there, but it's okay. You guys get it. Fred loved the expressive and connective nature of playing and listening to music. So lots of music was played throughout the neighborhood. A jazz trio played the background music throughout the program. And of course, each day in the neighborhood, Fred sang the songs he had composed. Throughout his career, Fred wrote hundreds of songs about the important things children feel and learn as they grow, like Many Ways to Say I Love You, What Do You Do with the Mad That You Feel, and It's You I Like. Every visit to the neighborhood would end as it began. Mr. Rogers changed back into his jacket and dress shoes while singing his song of love and reassurance to let us know he would be back next time. Fred played many roles in the making of more than 900 episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He wrote the scripts. He was a songwriter and singer, performer and puppeteer. He oversaw and approved what went on in every episode. Beyond his own contributions, he truly loved working with others. He respected and appreciated the talents and artistry of all who were involved in the creation of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And because of this, everyone felt connected in a very sincere and personal way. Just like a real neighborhood. Just like yours. All right. I hope you guys loved that book. And since no one can sing his song better than him, here's Mr. Rogers, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and a wonderful rest of your month. See you at the next Storytime Shorts. Bye.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor?